Cardiovascular system, blood vessels, and hemodynamic study questions. 1. What are the three layers of a blood vessel, and what are their functions? Tunica intima lines the lumen of a blood vessel and helps decrease resistance to blood flow. Tunica media regulates the diameter of vessels, which alters blood flow and blood pressure. Tunica externa, outermost layer that provides structural support and protection to the blood vessel. 2. How do arteries differ from veins in structure and function? Arteries carry blood away from the heart to body tissues, while veins drain body tissues and return blood to the heart. Structurally, veins contain more fibrous tissue and have larger lumens than arteries, which are typically more elastic and have more smooth muscle. 3. Define systolic and diastolic blood pressure. What factors influence blood pressure regulation? Systolic, pressure during ventricular contraction. Diastolic, pressure during ventricular relaxation. Influencing factors: cardiac output, blood volume, resistance, and vessel elasticity. 4. How does the body regulate blood flow to different tissues based on demand? Through vasodilation and vasoconstriction regulated by neural, hormonal, and local mechanisms. 5. Explain the relationship between resistance, blood flow, and blood pressure using Poiseuille's law. Blood flow is directly proportional to the pressure difference and inversely proportional to resistance. 6. What are the short-term and long-term mechanisms for blood pressure regulation? Short-term: baroreceptors, chemoreceptors, neuroreflexes. Long-term: kidney-mediated volume regulation via RAS. 7. How do baroreceptors and chemoreceptors contribute to cardiovascular homeostasis? Baroreceptors detect pressure changes and adjust heart rate. Chemoreceptors detect changes in O2, CO2, and pH levels. 8. What role does the skeletal muscle pump play in venous return? It helps push blood back to the heart by muscle contractions, squeezing the veins. 9. Describe the process of capillary exchange, including diffusion, transcytosis, and bulk flow. Diffusion moves gases and small solutes across capillary walls. Transcytosis transports large molecules via vesicles. Bulk flow, driven by hydrostatic and osmotic pressures, regulates movement through filtration at the arterial end and reabsorption at the venous end to maintain tissue fluid balance. 10. How does the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system regulate blood volume and pressure? RAS increases blood volume and pressure by stimulating vasoconstriction and sodium retention. 11. What are the main types of capillaries, and how do they differ in function? Continuous, least permeable. Fenestrated, medium permeability. Sinusoidal, most permeable. 12. How does vasodilation and vasoconstriction affect blood flow and blood pressure? Vasodilation decreases blood pressure and increases blood flow. Vasoconstriction increases blood pressure and decreases blood flow. Fill in the blanks. 1. The three layers of a blood vessel are the intima, media, and externa. 2. The blood vessel with the thickest tunica media is the artery. 3. Blood pressure is highest in the arteries and lowest in the veins. 4. The baroreceptor reflex helps regulate sudden changes in blood pressure. 5. Capillary exchange occurs primarily through diffusion, transcytosis, and bulk flow. 6. BP is the measure of the force exerted by blood against the walls of blood vessels. 7. The primary site of resistance in the circulatory system is the arteriole. Multiple choice questions. 1. Which of the following is not a factor affecting vascular resistance? C. Cardiac output. 2. What is the primary function of the veins? C. Act as capacitance vessels. 3. The baroreceptor reflex is primarily responsible for B. Short-term blood pressure regulation lymphatic system and immunity. Main functions of the lymphatic system. Maintains fluid balance. Supports fat absorption via lacteals. Provides immune defense. Key terms and concepts. Lymph. Fluid returned to circulation from tissues. Lymphatic capillaries. One-way minivalves allow fluid in via pressure differences. Lymph nodes, filter lymph, contain lymphocytes and macrophages. Spleen, filters blood, removes old RBCs, houses immune cells. Thymus, matures T cells, shrinks with age. Cisterna chyli, collects lymph from abdomen lower limbs, drains into thoracic duct. Lymph flow mechanisms. Skeletal muscle contraction. One-way valves. Respiratory movements. Rhythmic contraction of vessel. Smooth muscle lymphatic system and cardiovascular system. Returns excess interstitial fluid to the blood, maintaining blood volume and pressure. Lymphedema. Caused by blocked drainage, leading to painful swelling due to pressure buildup. Respiratory system. Brain centers for respiration. Located in the medulla oblongata and pons. DRG. Controls inspiration via diaphragm intercostals. VRG. Controls force breathing. PRG. Smooths transitions between inspiration and expiration. Chemoreceptors. Central. Detect CO2 and pH in the CSF. Peripheral. Detect O2, CO2, and pH in blood. Carotid and aortic bodies. Key reflex. Herring-Brewer reflex. Prevents overinflation of lungs using stretch receptors and vagus nerve effect of CO2. Hypercapnia increases respiratory rate depth to restore pH. Main muscle. Diaphragm is the primary muscle for inspiration. Fill in the blank concepts. To know. Lymph. Fluid returned via the lymphatic system. Spleen, largest lymphatic organ. Thymus, matures T lymphocytes. Diaphragm, major muscle responsible for inspiration. Increase CO2 equals increase in respiratory rate. Primary control centers. Located in medulla and pons. Multiple choice tips. 1. Gas with most direct effect on respiration. Carbon dioxide. 2. Primary inspiration muscle. Diaphragm. 3. What prevents overinflation of the lungs? Herring-Brewer reflex. 4. Lymphatic organ without direct lymph vessel connection. Thymus. 5. Right upper body quadrant drains into right lymphatic duct. True or false? Questions. 1. The thymus shrinks as you age because the body needs fewer T cells. True. 2. The spleen filters lymph and not blood. False. The spleen filters blood, not lymph. 3. Lymph is identical to blood plasma and contains the same amount of proteins. False. Lymph is similar to plasma but has fewer proteins. 4. The diaphragm is the main muscle responsible for inspiration. True. 5. The Herring-Brewer reflex helps prevent overinflation of the lungs. True. 6. Lymphatic capillaries allow fluid in and out through two-way valves. False. They use one-way mini-valves. 7. The dorsal respiratory group is active during forced breathing only. False. DRG controls normal inspiration. 8. Central chemoreceptors are located in the medulla and respond to CO2 and pH changes in cerebrospinal fluid. True. 9. Lymph nodes are secondary lymphoid organs. True. 10. The thoracic duct drains lymph only from the right upper quadrant of the body. False. The right lymphatic duct drains that region. The thoracic duct drains most of the body. Short answer questions. 1. What are the three main functions of the lymphatic system? Answer: fluid balance, fat absorption, and immune defense. 2. Name 2 primary lymphoid organs. Answer: thymus and bone marrow. 3. What is the role of the cisterna chyli in lymphatic circulation? Answer: it collects lymph from the lower limbs, pelvis, and abdomen and drains it into the thoracic duct. 4. How does the Herring-Brewer reflex protect the lungs? Answer: it prevents lung overinflation by triggering inhibitory signals via the vagus nerve when stretch receptors in the lungs are activated. 5. Which brain structures control the rhythm and rate of breathing? Answer: medulla oblongata and pons. 6. How does hypercapnia affect respiration? Answer: it increases respiratory rate and depth to expel excess CO2 and restore pH balance. 7. List 2 ways lymph moves through lymphatic vessels. Answer: skeletal muscle contractions and respiratory movements. 8. What is the function of the spleen in the immune system? Answer: it removes old red blood cells and houses immune cells like macrophages and lymphocytes. 9. Where are central and peripheral chemoreceptors located? Answer: central, medulla oblongata, peripheral, carotid and aortic bodies. 10. What type of blood cell matures in the thymus? Answer: T lymphocytes.